Bonjour. Bonjour, fam. How are we doing? Is this even working? I have no idea. Let's have a little look. Let's have a little look. There's always a bit of a lag, a bit of a delay. I never really know what this looks like until people start commenting in the chat. So if you can see this, then please do comment in the chat. That would be nice. And I'll need to make sure that... Oh, hello. Cool. Is this live? Yes, it is live. Hi, Thanmei, Wick, Exius. Okay, cool. Sweet. We're getting some stuff in. Is this actually working? Can you guys hear me? Yes? One of these days I'm going to get good at this live streaming thing and I won't have to spend absolutely frickin' ages just testing everything to make sure that it's actually working. Oh gosh, the chat is going by too fast. How do I enable slow mode? Anyone more good at this thing than I am? How do you enable slow mode on... How the hell do you enable slow mode on chat? Aha! That's how you enable slow mode on chat. Perfect. And let's set only subscribers can send messages to avoid the spam. And let's go. Okay, hopefully that should be reasonable. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. How are we doing, guys? Welcome to the party. I was meant to be filming a video this morning. In fact, I'm going to film a video this morning, and it's a video about how to stay focused while you're studying. But I often don't really like just sitting on my own in my room filming to my camera. So I kind of thought we would do a little bit of a live stream and answer some questions. And as we're doing the live stream, we can talk about this idea of how to stay focused while studying, because it feels like, oh man. I find that whenever there's a live stream happening, because of like the speed at which the chat is going by. Oh, hey, Dawn. How's it going? Because actually, okay, hang on. What if I hide the chat box? Is that better? Is that better? Now the chat doesn't look as if there is genuinely a 20-second delay. Yeah, why not? Let's just do it like that. I always find that because the chat is just going by so quickly, it always sort of derails my thought process and stuff when it comes to doing the live streams. Anyway, audio reasonable. Testing. Okay, we're slightly peaking on that, I think. So I'm actually going to... What about now? Testing. Hello. How's this kind of audio? There is a bit of a delay, so I'm waiting for you guys to hear me, to tell me how the audio sounds. And I'm also just double checking my setup. Perfect. That looks reasonable. Okay. Let's go. Cool. I'm just going to answer a few questions. Answer some questions. Good vibes. It's going to be good. That is going to be good. The previous was better. It was good either way. Audio sounds good. Perfect audio. Let's go, bud. What do you think of the Pomodoro technique? Okay, good. Fantastic. So let's just do a little bit of Q&A, and then we'll get to talking about this idea of a focus. Someone asked, what do you think of the Pomodoro technique? I actually think the Pomodoro technique is sick. It's really, really, really good. I've been reading some studies recently that show that I mean, everyone kind of knows this, but we don't take it seriously. It's genuinely really hard to focus for a long time without taking a break. And what I like about 25 minutes is that it's a short enough time that it feels like not too long, and it's a long enough time that you can actually get a lot done in 25 minutes. So big fan of the Pomodoro technique. Okay. How to attain success? How do we define success? What does success mean to you, BD Smart Earning? Based on the username, I have a few ideas. Ali, how do I start on YouTube? Says Akash. I have a bunch of videos about this, about how to start on YouTube. It's not that hard. You just do it. You make your first 10 videos. In fact, I think we have a video coming out later today about what I would do if I were starting a YouTube channel, like right now. And basically, what I say in that video is your first 10 videos are for you to get some practice and for you to at least get going with the thing. And after you've made 10 videos, then you can overthink about your niche and about your, like, who's your target audience, what's your value proposition, and all of that kind of fun stuff. How do I want to pop this chat out so that it is, sorry, bear with me. Still new to this being a streamer thing. How the hell do I pop this chat out? What if I do it like this? Does that work? Okay. Oh, okay, sweet. Yeah, this kind of works. Oh, pop out chat. Perfect. I can see it on YouTube now. Fantastic. Oh, thank you for the super whatever that is gamer tonight. I don't know what currency that is, but thank you. Most kind. Best side hustle with ChatGPT. Don't. Do you still use Roam Research? No, I don't actually. I use Obsidian these days. Hello from Cambodia. Have you read anything about quiet quitting and act your wage? I have a little bit. Yeah, often it's associated with people who have real jobs, and I don't have a real job, so I don't think about it too hard. Okay, this chat is still going by too fast to even like remotely keep track of, but that's okay. We don't need to do that. So I've got my, yeah, I see the chat in front of me. What Kindle do you use? Scribe, is it useful? This is the new Kindle Scribe. We actually have a review video about this that I filmed like last week, which is coming out maybe this week or next week. Short answer, I think this is somewhat overrated. But the normal Kindle is very underrated, so I still use a normal Kindle Paperwhite. I think that's the best Kindle to buy these days. I have emailed you regarding thumbnail designing. Cool. Lots of people have emailed me about thumbnails. I'll be honest, most of them have been trash. One of them has been good, and we've hired that guy. So if you look at my Deep Dive podcast YouTube channel, we're revamping some of the thumbnails there because this guy's sick. He messaged me on Twitter with a logo design and was actually really, really, really good. So I appreciate everyone who's emailed about the thumbnails. If we haven't gotten back to you, it's because the thumbnails have not been good enough. But appreciate you taking the effort and actually putting the action in. We have hired a guy whose thumbnails were good enough. So yeah, great vibes. Oh, Ikram, hello. Best side hustle for college students. I think private tutoring is actually a really good one, or learning to code and building some kind of software startup. Are you going to play Hogwarts Legacy? Yes, absolutely. Say something about the book Sapiens. Sapiens is really good. I had been putting off reading it for such a long time, and then I listened to the audiobook a few months ago, and I was blown away by how incredible it was. Would recommend. Your job is real, just not what most people consider normal. Yeah, fair enough. That's very kind of you to say. How did you build up your YouTube channel while working full time? I have filmed a video on this. It's like 50 minutes long, and it's coming out like next week or the week after. Yeah, how Obsidian plugins treating you? Yeah, reasonable. How come you're closing PTYA? We're not closing it. We're just stopping doing live cohorts because live cohorts make a lot of money. But when you say the same stuff for 3 years, it starts to get a bit boring. And there are lots of other things that are happening in our business where I'm now getting flown out to give talks at conferences and things where they pay utterly ludicrous sums of money. And I've had to say no to some of those because it's like, oh, I'm doing a live cohort where I'm on a Zoom call. And, you know, I kind of like doing live streams because it's a bit of interaction, but I don't really, I much prefer doing things in real life. And now that the world has opened up, like YouTuber Academy was kind of a lockdown project, but the world has opened up again and I much prefer doing things in real life. So, you know, maybe we'll run a real life course for how to be a part-time YouTuber someday, but I am less bullish on just sitting off and Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call and doing the same stuff. That's honestly the reason why we're shutting it down. So even though it makes tons and tons of money, it's one of those decisions around like, there are things that are more important than prioritizing revenue when it comes to that kind of stuff. Could you show us your Obsidian Vault anytime soon? Also, thanks for your amazing videos. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, how do I share my screen? I have not yet figured out how to share my screen on this because it involves installing some other random crap on Streamlabs and stuff. But yeah, I do want to do a video about Obsidian at some point. Is PTYA good for channels focused on science edutainment? PTYA is good for any channel focused on educational content. So yes. But Chris, if you take the course and you find it's not good, email us and we'll give you your money back. So like that's usually my response to most people. Do you still find museums boring? Yes, but I know that that's a me problem rather than a museum problem, and so I'm trying to fix that. How to build confidence. I have a video about this. Best way to make money for athletes? Training, coaching, software? I don't know. Thoughts on Hamza leaving? Oh, interesting. I'm like 20 minutes through his video about purpose. No real thoughts about Hamza leaving. I mean, people do what they want to do. It's good that he's on his purpose. It's a shame there's no more videos where I can practice my Hamza voice. Can I do a Hamza voice? Who here watches Hamza? I'm curious. Is this like a ref? I've been busting out this voice occasionally. Jeffrey is a no-life waste man who spends his life doing live streams on YouTube. He spends his time playing Hogwarts Legacy and thinking, "Oh, but Hamza, it's only 1 hour of day of video games." there's that distinctive thing that he does. Yeah. I do want to get better at impersonations and stuff. What was your today's adventure, Ollie? My today's adventure is actually to film this video that I need to film, but I'm kind of procrastinating by doing this kind of live stream. Adonis. Adonis is a real man. Oh, I love Hamza. What a legend. What a legend. Oh, we've got some new subscribers to the channel from a live stream. Who'd have thought? Usually when I do live streams, it loses subscribers because people are like, oh, they get the notification and then the live stream happens and then they're like, unsubscribe. Your setup is amazing. Thank you. It's very kind of you to say. Wait, is that Addy? Is that my Addy? Are you my Addy? We've just hired an editor called Addy, but I actually don't know what your surname is. Addy, what is your surname? No idea? Don't know. Are you in a relationship? Yes. Who gave Dobby clothes? Classic. Classic. Love it. Very good. Did you ever finish Elden Ring? I didn't even start playing Elden Ring, mate. I've not even started. Jeffrey doesn't play. Jeffrey plays Elden Ring all day, thinking he's being productive. Yeah, I'm trying to become Adonis Abdal, so I'm trying not to get overly into video games, although World of Warcraft is still pretty good. I sent you an email. You don't reply me. Okay, sorry. I'm curious. What did your email say? Let me see if I can find it. How do I see this email? Viral. Oh, I actually didn't see this email. I'm replying to it now. Cool. Viral, I've just replied to your email. I'm assuming this is the one. This is some good ideas. Good ideas. Right. Anyway, please, side hustles in Africa. I don't know, man. Like, the thing is, like, I always get this question. People are always like, what side hustle do I start in Pakistan? What side hustle do I start in Nigeria? What side hustle do I start in Timbuktu? And I always kind of think that, like, starting a side hustle in your local area is all well and good if the people that you're trying to sell to actually have money. But mostly the people that email me saying, hey, I live in this town in Pakistan, like, how do I start a side hustle? Realistically, the people in your local area do not have money to pay you for a side hustle. And therefore, it does not matter what country you're in because you have the power of the internet. The internet does not care where you are. And so instead of thinking, I need a side hustle as someone living in Africa, I mean, Africa's a huge ass place, or I need a side hustle as someone living in this town in Pakistan. Think instead, how can I add value to people on the internet and how can I make money? How can I make money through that? I've got tons and tons of videos talking about this. This is just like dozens of ways of doing it. What I would do personally is I would learn to code. Learning to code is still a ridiculously valuable skill. Anyone asking, how do I start a side hustle? The answer is learn to code, get good at using AI tools and APIs and stuff. Not like, how do I use ChatGPT to make money? More like actually genuinely learning how to code and learning how to build software that can solve problems for people. That is probably the approach I'd go with, unless like either that or the YouTube channel route around starting a side hustle. But it's actually quite hard to make a YouTube channel work. It takes a lot of effort, and the results are very delayed gratification. And often, it's very unlikely that you would succeed on YouTube unless you already have pre-existing unfair advantages. So, if you're trying to make money, learn to code and provide value for people on the internet. Honestly, that's like the single biggest lever that you can possibly ever pull. And I think the issue with the whole side hustle thing is that people are always looking for a cheap and easy and quick way to make money, right? Everyone wants to get rich quick, but there is no such thing as get rich quick. Well, there is if quick means 10 years. People want to get rich in the next like 2 months. That's basically never going to happen. What you need to do is find a way to provide value to people who are willing to pay you for that value. And I literally have tons of videos kind of literally breaking this down. And the problem with this kind of side hustle culture on YouTube these days is that the videos where it's like how to earn $1,000 a month with no money and no skills and no experience, like those sorts of videos, generally, you know, I've seen some of them, and it's like stupid things like do paid surveys and try drop shipping and stuff like that, stuff that's ridiculously saturated. Because no one wants to say the hard thing. Like the hard thing is that if you want to make money, you need to develop valuable skills. And one of the most valuable skills you can develop is learning to code. Another one is video editing, because that's like super in demand. So whenever I see emails about like, oh, what side hustle should I start? I'm always like, oh God, like I could write a reply to this, but it's just too much effort because I've made videos about it, and these people don't realize that the way you make money is by developing valuable skills. By developing valuable skills. Jeffrey sits there sending emails to his favorite YouTubers saying, oh, but Hamza, how do I make money on the internet? Adonis realizes that the way to make money is to provide value. Genuinely, it's just about providing value. It's about like learning valuable skills, learning to code, learning video editing. I think that's the vibe. So please stop sending me emails asking for side hustle ideas. Like just learn to code, learn a skill, provide it to people that are willing to pay for it. Start by doing it for free, and then you'll get paid clients. Genuinely, it's not that hard. How to join your team as an editor? We are actually always looking for editors. We put out an application. Like scroll down, Mr. Game Baz. Scroll down our YouTube community posts for the last few weeks, and you'll find an application. You can apply on that. And if your edit is good, then we'll hire you. We're always constantly looking for video editors. Thoughts on Iman Gadzi? Oh, nice guy. Went for dinner with him. He came on the pod. Good vibes. I like him. He also very kindly gifted me a really cool fountain pen, which is in my pencil case right now in my bag, which I've been using to do journaling with. So shout out to Iman. He's a good lad. Okay. Nice. Are you happy at the moment? Yes, very much so. I am genuinely one of the happiest people I've met. I think I'm probably the happiest person that I know. I think, but like I'm obviously in my own head and I'm not actually sure what's inside the heads of other people. Is this live stream going to be available later? Nah, probably not. You mentioned you used to stutter. Can you talk about this? I still do. That's interesting. What's there to talk about? When Iman podcast published, he actually messaged me the other day requesting that we not publish it because we did the interview like 6 months ago, and because we added it to the backlog of episodes that we had for the podcast, and he said that his views have changed in the last 6 months. So he was very polite about it. He said, "Look, sorry, man, I thought this interview was going to come out in 2 months. Instead, it's coming out in like 8 months." And I think that's totally fair enough. So in fact, we are not going to be publishing the Iman interview, but that's because he's requested that it not be published because, his views have changed, and I think that's totally fair. How can your lighting be so good even in live streams? You should see what the setup looks like. Have you read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? I've started reading it. Yeah, I'm about halfway through it. I think it's not the right time for me. Like I know so many people who've read that book and it's done nothing for them. But then I know people who've read that book and it's completely changed their life. So I think it's one of those books where it has to hit you at the right time. Do you regret quitting medicine? Nope. Top textbooks for doctors. Doctors don't use textbooks. Doctors use the internet. Textbooks are like super old, unless you're the only like if you're super specialized in a field, then yes, fine. The orthopedic surgery textbook is like useful, but 98% of doctors that I know day to day use the internet and not textbooks, because textbooks take ages to update. Like they're not up to date. Whereas a website like Up to Date or BMJ Best Practice or gpnotebook.com, like these are the more up to date resources. Oh, Stravia, do you still use Roam Research and would still rate? I don't use it anymore. I've switched to Obsidian. It's a real shame. Like I really enjoyed Roam. I think they've fallen behind in development. They've fallen behind in sensible things like mobile and offline access and all that kind of stuff. So I've switched all my stuff over to Obsidian. What's your opinion about the book Think and Grow Rich? I have not read it. I do need to read it. It's been on my radar for a while. Obviously, it's like ridiculously famous, and there are lots of people that love it, and there are lots of people that hate it, and so I do want to read it and do a genuine kind of book club episode about it. Anyway, so okay, John says, thanks, Ali, you really make my day. Oh, thank you. Do you have any advice for someone who's struggling in school? Mentally, it's really exhausting to be trying your best and not achieving results. Okay. I did a poll the other day asking people, when it comes to productivity, what's your single biggest struggle? And some of the people said time, a few more people said energy, but like more than half the people said focus. And it really seems that for a lot of people, especially students, but also beyond academics, focus is something that so many people struggle with. And if you can just get better at your ability to focus, that is a ridiculously life-changing ability. And well, yeah, and it seems like one of those things. I think the thing with focus is that often people will think that, oh, I struggle to focus, therefore I have ADHD, or I struggle to focus, therefore I'm just dumb, or well, I struggle to focus, therefore I'm defective in some kind of way. Obviously, there are people with ADHD out there, and if you think you do, then it's worth getting diagnosed. But I've been seeing some stuff. I've been seeing a bunch of studies, spoken to a bunch of psychiatrists as well, who say that things like ADHD are almost overdiagnosed these days, and actually there are skills that we can learn about how to focus that can genuinely help improve our lives, whether it's academics or whether it's kind of trying to hustle on your business when you've got a day job. Like, yeah, focus is really hard. But one of the videos I was going to film, and this might actually be, this is the one that I was going to talk about. I kind of have a few strategies, a few tools that I think of when it comes to focusing. Hang on, let me get comfortable. And then we can talk about focusing, because I think actually focusing is, ridiculously valuable skill. Okay, are we good? So, I actually have some notes about this. I am going to bring up my notes about this. And if you guys have questions as I'm going through, then please drop them in the chat, and I'll kind of scroll through and pause a few times. So, basically, 5. Hang on. Can you see this? Hang on, let me just make sure that this works. Yes, this is working. This is working. This is working. Fantastic. You can see me. You can hear me. This is happening. Cool. Okay, so how do you stay focused while studying or while doing anything else, really? Definitely, it's a learnable skill, and in this video, in this stream, okay, how do I want to do this? Okay, yeah. How do you stay focused while studying? Well, how do you stay focused while studying or doing anything else? I think really there's like five things to it. And there's loads of different methods that you can use to think about this kind of stuff. But here are the 5 different ways in which I think about focus. The first one is mindset. And that's the first one we're going to talk about. Now, the thing when it comes to mindset around focusing is we need to get away from the idea that focus is something that you have or something that you don't have. Focus is absolutely something that you can develop. And in the world of psychology, they call this kind of self-regulation. If you're good at the skill of self-regulation, it means you can kind of get yourself to do the things that are in your interests, even when you've got other distractions and stuff trying to pull your attention away from them. And there's a really good study, I think it's from 2002, where this guy has done a whole critique and whole analysis on this idea of self-regulation. There's this study there's a study from 2002 where this guy has done a whole like analysis on the idea of self-regulation, and there's basically a handful of practical strategies that people can use to improve their ability to self-regulate. And the better you are at using those strategies, the more you're going to improve your abilities to focus. So partly there is a kind of we need a growth mindset when it comes to focusing. We need to think of focus as something that can be learned rather than something that is innate to us or that we don't have by default. And then generally as well, I think when it comes to mindset around focus, the way I think about it a lot is how do I make the thing, like, the way I think about this is, do I struggle to focus when it comes to playing video games? Probably not. Do I struggle to focus when it comes to hanging out with my friends or watching Netflix or watching a movie? If the movie's boring, then yes, but otherwise probably not. But do I struggle to focus when it comes to studying for my pathology exam? Yes. Okay, cool. So what's going on there? Like if I can stay focused while playing a video game, but I can't stay focused while studying, the problem is not my ability to focus, because clearly I can do it in one thing and I'm not doing it on the other. The problem is the way that I'm approaching that specific task, and maybe some of the things around the task itself, right? So when I'm playing a video game, I'm having fun. It's generally energizing. And so the mindset with which I approach things that I need to focus on with is, how do I do it in a way that makes it feel more energizing? In other words, how do I make it fun? How do I make it enjoyable? And I think I see with a lot of students I talk to, I see a kind of defeatist mentality that like, oh, I just have to get through this. And as long as I just get through this, then suddenly I'll become a doctor 5 years down the line, and then it will all be worth it. And it's like this thing that Muhammad Ali famously once said, which is, I suffered every day in training for 10 years, but that's what it took to become a champion. And I don't really like that approach to life. I'm nowhere near as successful as Muhammad Ali is, so feel free to take this with a pinch of salt. But to me, suffering every day for 10 years to lift up a trophy at the end, it's probably not worth it, right? Like, I would rather, even if it comes at the cost of lifting that trophy, I would rather actually enjoy my time and feel as if I am making the most of my time on I would rather feel as if I'm making the most of my short time on this earth than think I have to suffer and crawl through glass and like discipline and grit and white knuckle myself through the hard work to get to the reward on the other side. Because really it's all about enjoying the journey. It's about journey before destination. And so that's kind of the mindset with which I try and approach all these focus questions with. How do I find a way to actually make it a little bit more fun? Now, this is basically what my whole book is about. It's coming out later this year, more details on that later. But there's a few things that I found helpful over the years. Firstly, studying becomes way more fun if you do it with friends. Back when I was at university, I set up this group, the Pomodoro Society, where we'd all get together in one of the libraries, and we were all doing different subjects, but we would all do the Pomodoro technique together. So we'd do 25 minutes of work and then chat for 5 minutes or whisper conversations or watch YouTube videos. And then we'd like knock twice on the table, and then we'd start another 25 minutes of work and then 5 minutes of chat. And we would just kind of repeat this process. And that made studying so much more energizing and helped all of us focus, because now we're doing it around other people. And even though the task was the same, even though it was still the same exams that we were studying for, we were doing it around friends, and that makes it just way more energizing. You don't necessarily need to do this in person. There's a Zoom co-working group called London Writers Salon that during lockdown, during lockdown especially, I used to join quite a lot of. They've got this writers hour, which is a free thing. It's a free co-working session. It happens 4 times a day at 8 o'clock in the morning in different time zones, and you just hop on a Zoom call. And there's like a few hundred writers on there, and someone chats for about 5 minutes, giving some inspiration, and then you work for 50 minutes, and then do 5 minutes of wrap up at the end where people post in the chat, what did they get done? And there's something so nice about that. And I actually used to run these kind of Zoom co-working sessions myself during lockdown. And again, it's just about finding these different ways that you can approach your work or your studies or whatever you're doing with people around you in a way that makes it a lot easier to focus rather than harder to focus. I think another thing on the mindset front that I find helpful is to try and frame what I'm doing as more of an adventure. So in the morning, back in the day, I used to ask myself, what's my most important task for the day? And I took this from Ben Franklin's morning routine, which was, I think every morning he would ask himself, what good shall I do today? And then the guys, Jake and John, that wrote the book Make Time, which is a very good book, called it the daily highlight, where every day you ask yourself, what's today's highlight going to be? And it could be something that's urgent or something that's satisfying or whatever. And I was using the daily highlight framing for a while. And then I realized that I'm actually missing a trick here. and I switched it up and called it, and I started calling it my daily adventure. It's like, what is the adventure that I'm going on today? Like today, my adventure is to film this video or do this live stream, or actually my actual adventure for today is to do the edits for chapter 1 and chapter 2 for my book, because those have been piling up for the last week where I've been doing a bunch of other stuff and haven't really had time to, or rather haven't made the time to do those. That's the adventure for today. And so what is otherwise a case of sitting on a laptop, hunched over, coffee in my hand, going through a Google Doc to approve or reject suggestions and like do little nitty copy edits and line edits and stuff on my book chapters, which can be thought of as kind of boring, because the fun part is doing the writing. The boring part is then doing the editing to try and like nitpick all the stuff with it. Anyway, that could initially on the surface be seen as a boring thing that I would struggle to focus on. But if I frame it as an adventure, I'm approaching it with an attitude of, how do I make this fun? How do I make it interesting? What would this look like as an adventure? And so instead of just sitting on my desk, on my laptop, just doing my thing, instead, I'm going to go to the local co-working space. I'll grab a coffee on the way. I'll have my headphones in playing Lord of the Rings music in the background. All of these things make it feel more like an adventure. On that note, one thing I've started to do is wearing shoes in the house. I have a pair of trainers that I just wear in the house. Why do I have a pair of trainers that I just wear in the house? Well, because it just makes it feel more like an adventure. It means that when I get up in the morning and have my shower and get dressed, I put on my trainers and they've got a bit of a bounce to them. And I feel like when I'm walking around the house, I then have more energy, because I'm getting excited now. I have more energy because it feels like more of it just feels like more of an adventure. So in terms of mindset, when it comes to focusing, what are the things that you can do to make your work feel more like an adventure? What does that look like for you? I'd love to hear people watching this on the chat right now. How do you make your work into an adventure? What are some strategies that you found that's like have actually proved helpful in this regard? And the other one here was people. And I'm going to pause a bit while people are posting in the chat. What can you do to make your work feel like more of an adventure? I had about 15 people emailing me about thumbnails. One of them was really, really good, so we've hired that person. The rest didn't quite make the cut. So thank you everyone for emailing. Appreciate the action orientation that took. But we have hired someone to do kind of thumbnails and rebranding and stuff, because that person was really, 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 really good. I delete code from production. That's an adventure. Very good. Listening to powerful music, film music, etc. That's really good. I love it. How can music help you focus? I think music without lyrics can make it feel more fun. I've looked into a bunch of evidence about this. Evidence is broadly inconclusive, but if you enjoy the thing more, if it feels like more of an adventure, then actually background music can really help. Dance breaks, nice. Max says dance breaks. Lo-fi music, nice. Definitely waking up early makes me feel like the main character. Yeah, I know what you mean. Loic? I'm not sure how you pronounce your name, but imagination, storyboard, everything is inspiration. Listen to some music, classical music. What's the thing about adventure versus highlight? Don't really get the difference, lol. There's no difference. Basically, the question is just asking you, like, what is the most important thing that you need to do today? But you can call it a highlight, or you can call it an adventure. An adventure just makes it more fun. And when things are fun, it becomes a lot easier to focus on them, and you approach it with more of an attitude of play, an attitude of experimentation. And I find adventure creates that sense, whereas highlight or important task kind of makes it feel more like work rather than an adventure, for example. Piano music soundtrack. Coffee always helps. Being alone. Ooh, I listen to forest or rain sounds while studying. Pretty calming. Nice. How do you get more motivated to do schoolwork? This is literally what we're talking about. How to stay focused while studying. Rewarding self after every task. Fantastic. Cold shower. Amazing. Okay, good. So, cool. So we're talking about how to stay focused while studying. Number 1 is mindset. And then number 2, we have technique. All right, let's talk about the technique side of how to stay focused. Now, oh, hang on, just while I wait for my standing desk to stop buzzing. Movie soundtracks. Yeah, it's all about movie soundtracks. Oh, if you search on Spotify, if you search Ali Abdal on Spotify, you'll find my Study With Me playlist. I think it's very good. It's good stuff. Do you think dopamine detox is good to reduce? I've never tried a dopamine detox. Making challenges. Challenges is a really good shout. Asma, nice one. Is this trying to trick and hack your brain, but you consciously know it's still the same task? Yes, absolutely. You can, like, there's so much value in changing the way that you approach a task, even if the task is the same. Just the mindset makes an absolutely enormous difference. And anyone that's like, oh, the task is boring, it's like you've already lost it by admitting that to yourself. Like, treat it like an adventure. Treat it like it's going to be fun. Approach it with a spirit of play. Andrew, hello. Welcome to the party. Thank you for joining this live stream. Good sesh. We're semi-filming a video and semi-doing a bit of a Q&A. Thoughts on ChatGPT? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I've used it for some stuff. I hold focus sessions with friends on Zoom. Works as a social pressure. Nice one, Isabel. That's a great idea. That is a great idea. What age you made your first million? It depends how you count it, right? Like, is it paper million or is it like cash million? I don't think I've even made cash million. Have I made cash million? I guess it depends how you define it. Probably like 26. I'm 28 now. Yeah, probably like 26. Age 26. Link for the mic you're using, Ali. It's the Elgato Wave. When is the next Not Overthinking? Not sure. It's been a while since we recorded one. What do you think about monk mode? I'm not overly familiar with it. I've seen it in a few thumbnails. I saw Iman's video about this ages ago, but I can't remember what the vibe is. Book review, The Way of the Superior Man. Really good book. Really, really good book. Oh, nice. Just driving Bali, come back. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, totally. Let's do a double date. That would be fun. We'll take a trip out to Bali sometime soon. Whereabouts in Bali are you, Andrew? By the way, everyone subscribe to Andrew Kirby's channel. Great vibes. Thoughts on Justin Sung? I don't know who Justin Sung is. Do I know who Justin Sung is? Name rings a bell, but I don't think I've seen any of his stuff. Why are you so cute? Oh, I don't know. What can I say? Good genes. Skinny jeans. Am I right? That was good, wasn't it? That was a good one. That was a good one. Jeffrey makes jokes about his clothing to people on a YouTube live stream. Is Healthy Gamer GG on your radar? Yes, I've seen some of his stuff. I really like him. I've seen a few of his clips, I think, on YouTube, and I know he does Twitch. Yeah, he's really cool. I love his background as well. It's just fantastic vibes. Anyway, was in Ubud and then Canggu. Oh, nice. Yeah, we were in Ubud for like 10 days and then went to Gili Tea for a week or so, which was quite nice. Anyway, right. So we were talking about this idea of how do you stay focused while studying, which was prompted by the fact that I wanted to film a video about it, and various people have been asking that sort of question. We've talked about number one, the mindset. Number two is the technique. And one of the main things here is the Pomodoro technique, because there's tons and tons of evidence that shows that our brain basically really, really, really struggles to focus for longer periods. I'm going to try that again. And basically the idea here is that there's a ton of evidence that suggests that our brain struggles to focus for long periods of time. Long is somewhat arbitrary. Like, there are some studies that say 90 minutes is like the absolute max. Some studies I've seen say 45 minutes is the absolute max. I've not really seen many that say 25 minutes is the max, but I find 25 minutes to be really good, because 25 minutes is long enough to get a reasonable amount of work done, but short enough that like the break just feels like it's around the corner. And it's like one of those things that it creates a mini deadline. And deadlines are a great way to encourage action, because deadlines are when we have something where if we feel like we've got a little bit of time pressure on the thing, it makes us perform a little bit better. If there's too much time pressure, then it sort of detracts from our performance. But if there's just enough, then that's like a good kind of motivator. And so I've always found the Pomodoro technique quite helpful. If I'm doing like really long sessions where I really, really have to focus, then I'll increase it to 45 minutes. But to me, these days, as I'm working on book, as I'm working on video projects, whenever I'm struggling to focus, I just turn on the Pomodoro technique. And the way that I use that is by using an app called Rise.io. I think we've got an affiliate link, rise.io/Ali Abdal. We'll put that down in the video description or something like that. You can get a discount if you want to use it. It's basically an automatic time tracker, and it tracks your time automatically and lets you basically categorize every website and app that you're on. So I find it really helpful for me to see actually how much time did I actually spend in Google Docs, which is what I'm doing for my book stuff. How much time did I spend in ClickUp, which is what we're doing for YouTube videos, versus how much time did I spend on Slack or on YouTube videos or whatever, or scrolling Twitter, which is my most common pastime these days. But what Rise also does is that it's got a Pomodoro timer built into it. You don't need a fancy app for a Pomodoro timer. You can literally just Google the phrase timer 25 minutes and it will start a timer for you. You can use an hourglass. I have an hourglass on my desk over there, which I can't be bothered to go and get right now. You can start a timer on your phone. You can look at your clock on your computer. Tons and tons of ways of setting a timer for yourself. but setting a timer is unreasonably effective. It's a ridiculously cheap and valuable technique to use to increase your ability to focus. And then there's also the idea of task switching. No? Hello? Generally, task switching is a very bad idea because, again, there's a bunch of studies that show, like, let's try that again. Task switching is generally a bad idea. Like, most people probably know this at this point, but there are actually a bunch of studies that show that, hey, if you're trying to do some work and then you respond to a notification, or if you're trying to do some work and then you answer an email, there's this attentional residue that's left when you switch tasks. And so that's, again, why the Pomodoro technique is good in terms of technique, because it means just for those 25 minutes, you are full on laser focusing on just that thing that you're trying to do. You're not getting distracted by notifications here and there. So one thing that I like to do is I hold Option and I click the clock on my Mac, because that turns my computer into do not disturb mode, which means I don't see any notifications. The only notifications that I see in that mode are notifications from my girlfriend or my mum or my brother and sister-in-law, so my housemates, in case there's something urgent that comes up. Everything else gets completely silenced, and that means that I'm not getting attention residue distracted by task switching to check a notification or something like that. Simple stuff, but again, it amazes me how few people actually do this. And recently I started speaking to a bunch of people in real life. Like, when I meet people at meetups and stuff, and they ask, "Hey, I'm struggling to focus. Have you got any tips?" And I have the time to ask them a few more questions. Turns out that they always have their phone in front of them. They're always checking notifications, because it doesn't feel as if you're wasting that much time. You're like, oh, I've got to check this email anyway. I might as well check it now. But actually, by checking the email, you're completely shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to your ability to focus. Okay. Speak slowly, please. This is stream. No. Show your own playing tutorial? What do you mean playing tutorial? Watching the stream feels like watching one of Ollie's videos. I'm glad. This is how I am in real life as well. My friends get are always a bit annoyed by it. They're like, "Oh, you put on your video voice." Will these clips get turned into a YouTube video? I would love to watch this back. Yes, that's the idea. Basically, the plan. Actually, this is one of my strategies. I have a video that I wanted to film how to stay focused while studying, because I thought it would be a fun video to do, and I know a bunch of research about this stuff. But this morning, I was like, I'm kind of feeling demotivated and feel like I don't really have any energy. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I just do a live stream? Because for me, doing a live stream is always way more energizing than just filming a video. And given that I'm now doing this live stream, it means I can kind of film the video while doing the live stream, because then it feels I'm talking to people, and then I can also answer questions along the way. And it's just, that's also part of this kind of adventure framing. Like, to me, right now, my job, which just feels weird to say, is filming videos. But sometimes, even though people are like, "Oh my God, life of a YouTuber, you're clearly living the dream." Yes, I am living the dream. It's fantastic. But even sometimes it does feel like a job. And so what I've done this morning is think, how could I make this more fun? How could I make filming a video about how to stay focused while studying a little bit more energizing and enjoyable? And I realized, I could do it on a live stream, and I could answer questions along the way. So it feels like I'm having a chat with people, and we're having chit chat rather than I'm just monologuing to a camera for literally an hour straight, which is how long it takes me to film videos. I also spend way too much time spinning this pen, but do you play Hogwarts Legacy? I don't think it's out yet. I thought it was coming out in a few days. Thoughts on Ankur Waraku? Oh, I love the guy. He's amazing. He's one of our alumni for our part-time YouTuber Academy. He left us a great testimonial. Academy.aliabdal.com. If you want to see what Ankur thinks of my part-time YouTuber Academy. I love the guy. He's great. We need more productivity videos, Ali. Working on it. But also, there's only so much productivity videos that you need. Mostly what people need is not to watch productivity videos. It's to actually do the thing and be intentional about how they're spending their time, and then spend their time doing that thing. Ollie's getting hench. Oh, yeah. Thanks, man. What's your IQ and thoughts on it? I don't know. I've never done an IQ test, but we were going to work with Mensa for me to do an IQ test, and then that ended up falling through the cracks. At some point, I want to do an IQ test at some point. I did study IQ quite a lot in my third year at university when I did psychology, and I think it's a super interesting subject. I think the idea of IQ and intelligence is really interesting. Individual differences in intelligence and IQ, really interesting. Gender differences in intelligence, race differences in IQ, like all of that stuff is super, super interesting. Very controversial, very incendiary. There's a lot of like morals and tied up into it, a lot of philosophy and ethics tied up into it. It's such a intriguing subject. But yeah, more on that another time. What phone do you use? I don't know, iPhone 14, 13 Pro. I've lost track of what iPhone. Oh, no, iPhone 14. Yeah, iPhone 14 Pro, I think. Chat is going too fast. Can IQ be improved? From what I've read about it, no, not really. Would you say Cambridge was worth it, financially speaking? Yes, of course. Do you think IQ tests only show how good you are on IQ tests? This was actually one of the essays I wrote in my third year in 2015. The title of the essay was something like, the only thing that IQ tests measure is your ability to do well in IQ tests. Discuss the extent to which you agree with the statement. And I disagreed with the statement. Having done a lot of reading about this, I don't think IQ tests only measure your ability to do IQ tests. I think IQ tests do measure something deeper than that. And that something deeper is close to what we would traditionally call intelligence. But it's complicated, right? Because intelligence is not a value neutral word. It's a very, very, very loaded word. And so IQ tests are claiming to try and measure intelligence. And the results of IQ tests certainly correlate with a lot of other things that we would think would correlate with intelligence, but we don't have an actual way of measuring intelligence. But IQ is kind of the best measure that we have. And so it's an imperfect measure, but it's not a completely uncorrelated measure. It's not like there is zero correlation between someone's intelligence and someone's IQ. There is some kind of correlation. I actually think it's a pretty strong correlation, but it just depends on what you define as intelligence. And it's hard because it's like value loaded, and it's philosophy and ethics and all this stuff is tied up into this idea of IQ and intelligence. Anyway, what Apple Watch face do you use? The basic one? Yeah, this is my Apple Watch face. I'll show you. Well, will it focus? Have we got autofocus on? Oh, never mind. Autofocus not on. But love from India. Thank you. Should I join Cambridge Med School, or are there better universities as an Indian student? Join whatever university you like. I really liked Cambridge. Cambridge was awesome. Light mode or dark mode? Light mode all the way. Would you recommend working in the NHS to someone interested in medicine given its state? Alex, what stage of your medical training are you at? Because my answer will depend on what stage of medical training you're at. Vidrees, are you familiar with the study Industrial Engineering and Management? I do some day in the life videos. No, but I will check out your channel. How do I check out? I can't click on you. I will check out your channel after this. How to avoid sedentary lifestyle. Oh, mate, this is an ongoing struggle. The way I avoid a sedentary lifestyle is trying to hit my 10,000 steps each day. And what that means sometimes is that I have to walk on my walking desk treadmill thing while playing World of Warcraft or while working, not while studying. What I also do is that there's a coffee shop that's like 500 steps away from me. And so I try, whenever I'm getting coffee in the day, to not make the coffee at home. It's like a pret-a-manger, French cuisine, right? And so I have the Pret coffee subscription. So it's 25 quid a month, but you get free coffee 5 times a day. So I walk to the Pret and back. And that gets me in the steps. So that's something that helps me avoid a sedentary lifestyle. And actually, straight after filming this, I'm going to go to the gym because I'm trying out a new routine where I do gym in the afternoon. So a block of work in the morning where I'm filming a video, and then gym, and then lunch, and then 4 hours of work from like 3 to 7 p.m. where I'm doing book stuff. So 4 hours of filming in the morning, and then 4 hours of writing in the evening. That's the aim. Have you watched Kevin Jabal's 1 year after react to your video? Yes, I have. I think I've either seen most of it or all of it. I can't remember how much of that video I've watched. But yeah, I really like Kevin. He's a friend of mine. We've been chatting on iMessage for like years at this point. So he's a good lad. He is a good lad. Okay, hang on. So coming back to, do a little clap. We're still recording on all fronts? Yeah, we are. Coming back to a little thing. We were talking about how to stay focused while studying. So we've talked about mindset and we've talked about technique so far. And I've given hopefully we'll put some kind of references and stuff in the video description if you want to see more of, if you actually want to read the studies that some of this stuff is based on. But the third main thing to talk about here is environment. Because the environment that you're studying in or working in makes an enormous difference to your ability to focus. And again, this is one of those underrated things that people don't take particularly seriously. And the main thing is, let me write this down. Okay, so the first thing here is when it comes to our environment, we basically want to try our best to avoid distractions. There are so many studies that support this. Like, there are studies that have even shown that, like, just purely having, like, obviously having your phone in front of you pinging notifications is obviously going to be bad for your focus. That's basically a no-brainer. But there's even an interesting study that showed that if you just have your phone on your desk, that reduces your cognitive, your ability to focus compared to if the phone was in a different room. And there was this paper called Brain Drain. In fact, let me see if I can bring it up. Brain Drain, the mere presence of one's own smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity. That's super interesting, isn't it? It's like having your phone in a separate room demonstrably, measurably improves your ability to focus compared to having your phone on your desk in front of you. Most of us, when we're studying, when we're trying to focus, we probably have our phone in front of us. You can do what I do and have it face down. You can do what noobs do and have it face up and see the notifications pinging straight at you. But the even better thing to do is just have your phone in a different room. So there's things that you can do to kind of reduce the amount of distractions that are in your environment in that sense. How do I bring the chat back up? The chat has disappeared. There we go. But the other thing about distractions is, and I'm going to write this down here. Embrace welcome distractions. Like, there are some distractions that are bad, like a random ass notification from Twitter on your phone. And there are some distractions that are actually good distractions. A good distraction might be if, for example, you have kids, your kids coming in and wanting to talk to you about something. Most parents that I know have regretted that as they've gone older, they've spent too much time on their work and not enough time with their kids. Similarly, a welcome distraction might be, like for me, when I was at university, I always would keep my door propped open with a door stopper thingy bobby. And whenever any friend would come by and would poke their head into my room to say hello, I would ask them to, I would invite them in, make them a cup of tea, and we'd actually have a bit of chat. Yes, it's a distraction from my work, but it's a welcome distraction. Now that I've graduated university, and it's been a few years, it's been like 5 years since I've graduated university, I don't at all regret, oh man, I wish I'd squeezed out 1% more focus and more efficiency while studying. But instead, I'm fond of the memories that, you know, random friends coming into the room and that turning into an interesting conversation or turning into board games or turning into playing some FIFA, stuff like that. Those are my most treasured memories from university, rather than like, oh man, I really wish I'd focused 1% harder. So yes, you want to get rid of distractions, in particular distractions that are going to be taking time away from your focus that you don't want. But it's also worth keeping in mind that actually welcome distractions. Sometimes distractions are a good thing, and we need to remember that life is more than just about trying to focus and trying to be productive. And actually it's all about kind of health and relationships as well. The other thing when it comes to environment is I find it really helpful. I haven't seen studies on this, but I'm on the lookout for them. That actually I've seen a few. An inspiring atmosphere is another way to just improve your ability to focus. So there are some studies that show that having green plants nearby or in your office or on your desk improves your creativity, which is somewhat tangentially related to focus. What I find is that when the environment around me is inspiring, I'm way more likely to focus. This is why I enjoy going to co-working spaces like WeWork, because other people around me are working, the vibe is good, the design is nice. This is why I enjoy going to coffee shops where there's like a little bit of hustle and bustle, because to me, that's an inspiring atmosphere. I enjoy going to libraries because it's an inspiring atmosphere. I enjoy working in people's offices, like friends of mine who have companies or startups or whatever. Sometimes I'll go to their office and work because that's an inspiring atmosphere. Right now, I'll be honest, this room is not a particularly inspiring atmosphere. There's random shit on the floor. There's water bottles, coffee mugs. I've got a coffee mug over here. This is not very good. It's great because I've got the whole setup here for filming videos, but this is not an inspiring environment for me to do my book stuff. And so after this, I'm going to go to a local co-working space. Well, I'm going to go gym, and then I'm going to have lunch, and then I'm going to go to a co-working space where the environment is a little bit more inspiring. But again, the thing here is that it's easy to take this too far. A lot of this stuff around how to focus and how to study and all these tips in general personal development, a lot of it is kind of finding the balance between two extremes. Yes, it's really nice having an inspiring atmosphere, but if you have a requirement for an inspiring atmosphere, you're going to get a lot less done. If, for example, you're one of those people that like, oh, unless I'm at my desk, unless it looks amazing, unless I have my matcha latte with me, and unless I've had 18 milligrams of caffeine in the morning with some modafinil, then I'm not able to study. You're just shafting yourself because you're creating these rules and constraints, which are not actually true. So when it comes to an inspiring environment, I think like treat it as something that's nice to have rather than as something that's an absolute requirement. I can focus even when I'm on a bus or on a train or on a plane. Like even if the environment is not that inspiring, I can still focus. But it's just nice to have when the environment is a little bit more inspiring. Tina says, I'm proud of you going to the gym, Ali. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. How do you have your iPhone organized? I don't. What phone do you use? iPhone 14 Pro. What languages do you speak? I speak English and I speak Urdu somewhat conversationally. And I would like to learn Mandarin and I'd like to learn Japanese. What camera do you currently use? Quality is lit. Thank you. I think this is the Sony FX3. Is that the fake plant you've had for 5+ years? Yes, I've had it since 2014. So like almost like 9 years now. Literally exactly the same one. The Fejkar potted plant is so good. Freaking love the fake plant. How many times do you shower per day? Like one. Do you plan to help people affected by the devastating earthquake in Turkey? Yes. What amount of money will you consider satisfactory in life? Don't know. These days I try and aim for 2 million a year in terms of a business profit. That's obviously way more than anyone needs to be to feel satisfied. I think as long as money is not a hindrance that's stopping me from living what I think is my best life or building a life I love, then that's a good amount. Why is the stream not 1080p? Isn't it? It should be. Maybe it's because my internet sucks. I don't know. Dude, what Alfred theme are you using? I think the default one. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time on like customizations and things. What's your microphone? This is the Elgato Wave. What's your main character in WoW and what realm do you play in? I think it's Argent Dawn EU, and my main character is a evoker. Who is your girlfriend? I'm not telling. What's your Valentine's plan? How to get a date in Valentine's? Any tips? Don't know. My plan is go out to a nice restaurant with a gal, have a good time. How to speak confidently on camera. I have a video about this. So if you search YouTube for Ali Abdaal camera confidence, you'll find it. Why is this thing 720p? It should be 1080p, but I think it might be because my internet is actually not in fact good enough. The internet here is kind of slow. Oh, no, output scaled resolution is in fact 720p. Oh, well, that's fine. We'll do 1080p next time. What color is your Bugatti? Good. Hogwarts Legacy stream. Yeah, I actually do want to stream Hogwarts Legacy. I think that would be fun. I really like the new Deep Dive podcast thumbnail. Thank you. This was a guy who saw my video about side hustle ideas and decided to follow the model and created a logo for me and sent it over on Twitter. And I loved the guy's work so much that we hired him on the spot. So that was an example of someone actually taking my advice and being good at it and then implementing that. Ibtisam, are you from Pakistan? Yes, I was born in Karachi and I've lived there for about 3 years in total. What's your take on Hamza? I love the guy. It's great vibes. How can I overcome over-perfection? That's a good video idea. I'll do that at some point. How to be perfectionism. Do you know what is your IQ? Nope. Any regrets about leaving medicine? I have a video about this that I released about 2 months ago, so you can check that out. That's quite long. How often do you play video games? I don't know, like once a week, something like that. Not overly often. How should I apply for a job to work with you? Watch my video about how to apply for a job. Is this recorded? Yes. Wait. I mean, it's being recorded, but it is live. Have you used ChatGPT for your job at all? A little bit. We kind of use it to make some title ideas for videos sometimes, but it's not amazing. Your take on David Goggins? I really liked Can't Hurt Me. I have started listening to the new one, never finished, but I haven't finished it yet. I'm listening to the audiobook of Spare by Prince Harry at the moment. It's super interesting so far. Hang. How can I be more confident? Yeah, I have a video about this. How many hours do you read per day? Usually like half an hour before bed. But if I'm on a train or something and I'm not doing work, then I'll read on there too. Good notes or notability? I just use Apple Notes these days, TBH. Your take on Andrew Tate? I think like 10% of what he says is legit, and it's ruined by the 90% of everything else that he says. What about Jay Shetty? Jay Shetty is really cool. I really want to be friends with Jay. We were meant to have him on the podcast like last week. He was in the UK. He was in London for like a couple of days for promoting his new book, but then it didn't quite work out with the scheduling and stuff. And like he's like ridiculously busy, so I can only imagine how packed his schedule must be, especially in book promo time. But I really want to be friends with Jay. I think he's a good lad. He asks really, really thoughtful questions on his podcast. It is really good. So much respect for the guy. How to improve networking with high-value individuals, says Soham. Become a high-value individual, and then you will be better at networking with high-value individuals. Do you have any tips for assistants? How to plan your day around planning someone else's day? Thanks. Keep it up with the videos. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. I don't know. I think Michael Hyatt has a good book called Your World-Class Assistant. And that is the book that I read that helped me hire and work with and train and manage and stuff an assistant. So I would recommend Michael Hyatt's book, Your World-Class Personal Assistant, for this. Thoughts on Beer Biceps? Oh, I've met him like twice now in Dubai. He's great. He's super, super friendly. Really, really, really nice guy. I love him. He's like just like such fantastic vibes. Austin, hello. Good to see you. Good to see you here. Why don't you invite Lex Friedman on the pod? We'd like to. I like doing pods in person, and I haven't yet been to the US. So yeah. Anyway, right. So far we were talking about how to stay focused while studying. So we talked about mindset, technique, and environment. A couple more things to talk about. And the first, well, number 4 here is the human factor. So, when it comes to the human factor, this is the basic stuff. Rest and sleep and exercise and nutrition. Like, again, I've spoken to so many students who've struggled to focus, and the rest of their life is just not put together. Like, they don't prioritize their sleep. They're out until 4 a.m. clubbing in the nighttime, or like in my case that I used to do, playing Articulate, the board game, fantastic board game, by the way. They're like not taking care of their nutrition. They're eating like shitty fried food, ordering takeaways, eating chips every single day, not doing any exercise. Like, when you're destroying your body like that, it's easy enough to do when you're young because you'll just recover from it and not really care. But it completely shafts your brain and your ability to focus. And so this is just one of those classic things of like, if you actually want to improve your ability to focus and stay focused while studying, take care of the rest of your body and mind as well. And if you can do those, that's like a major domino that if you can knock that domino down or just be healthy in those kind of habits, it really helps you to improve your own focus. I'm not going to labor this point too much. There's tons and tons and tons of videos on YouTube about effective sleep, effective rest, effective sleep, effective exercise, effective nutrition. That's not me. We are working on a video about effective sleep. And I've got a video called Why You're Always Tired, where we interviewed an expert on this, Professor Russell Foster. That was sick. That video is done super well, actually. I'll link that down below. It's all about like practical, actionable ways that you can actually improve your sleep. And once you improve your sleep, that improves your ability to focus. But one thing I do want to talk about is caffeine. Now, I did a video like 2 years ago, something like that, talking about like looking at all the evidence around, is caffeine good for you? And the broad answer to that question was yes. Caffeine is in fact good for you. I just have a little drag of coffee left. And actually like 3 cups of coffee a day, if I remember that video correctly, was like a good amount to get the benefits of caffeine. Caffeine is basically a wonder drug where unless you have really, really profound anxiety or tachycardia that's triggered by caffeine or that's exacerbated by caffeine, caffeine improves your ability to focus really without any major side effects. So caffeine is pretty solid if you're into that kind of stuff. I haven't tried any of these study drugs. Feels a bit like, there's a lot of things you can do before you start relying on pharmacological methods for improving your focus, but certainly take breaks in between work sessions, have a decent shutdown ritual at the end of the day, having a reasonable morning routine, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, sleeping at roughly the same time in the morning and the evening, going for a walk in the mornings. Like I go for a walk to get my morning coffee, and that does so much for my ability to focus compared to if I just made a coffee and just went straight for the computer. Morning sunlight. You can listen to the Andrew Huberman podcast, Huberman Lab. It's amazing. He's done loads of 10 hours worth of episodes around like how to improve your focus through these sorts of tips and tricks. It's the basic stuff, but getting the basics right is just ridiculously helpful. Okay, now I'm going to turn this into a video, and so I'm going to do a little end screen plug. So I hope you forgive me for this, and then we'll do a little bit more Q&A, and then we're going to wrap it up because I want to go to the gym. And finally, point number 5 for staying focused while studying is to appreciate. And finally, point number 5 when it comes to staying focused while studying is to appreciate the idea of identified motivation. And this idea of identified motivation is genuinely life-changing in improving your ability to stay motivated and stay disciplined when it comes to your studies or to anything else. And I've got a whole video over there where I talk about this idea of motivation, and I talk about that, and I talk about all of this in that video over here. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in that video where we talk about point 5 in this video, identified motivation. See you later. Cool, that's the video. Do I want to film an intro for this? I think I'll film an intro for this because I'm going to chop some of this out and turn it into a video in post, and then we can do a bit more Q's and A's. Cool. So I've got a little voiceover prepared for this. So this is the voiceover for the end of the video. If you always struggle to stay focused, If you always struggle to stay focused while studying, then you're not alone. Studies show that around 49% of people feel like their attention span. If you always struggle to stay focused while studying, then you're not alone. Studies show that around 49% of people feel like their attention span is shorter than it used to be, and 50% of us check our phones on average every 12 minutes. The modern world is full of an ever-increasing number of distractions, and for students especially, it's getting harder and harder to focus, and it feels like you have to force your brain to do what you want it to do. And it can sometimes feel like you have to force your brain to do. And it can sometimes feel like you have to force your brain to do what you want it to do. But there are some simple tips backed by a whole bunch of research that can help us improve our focus, which is what we're going to go through in this video. And we're going to talk about a 5-part framework that's going to help us stay focused while studying. Part 1 is about mindset, Part 2, technique, Part 3, environment, Part 4, the human factor, and then finally we're going to end with a bonus session on identified motivation. Let's get into it. Cool. That's the voiceover done. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And any other chat. Yeah, for people who've just joined us, I was kind of semi-filming a video, but then I was feeling a bit de-energized, so I thought I'd do it as a live stream and have a bit of chit-chat halfway through. So it just kind of makes filming videos more fun when I feel like I can chat to you guys in the middle of it and take questions from the audience and use those to, yeah. Do you guys have any questions when it comes to focusing while studying? Because within this video, I can put in some answers and some Q's and A's segments, and it would be cool. Like, I like the idea of like making videos that are helpful to people. And so, especially when it comes to student-related topics, like it's been 5 years since I've been a student. And yes, I've studied for some kind of exams, and writing a book is about research and studying and stuff. But like, you know, if you are a student and you have a specific question, maybe if you've been here for the whole live stream and you've heard my spiel about mindset, technique, environment, human factor, identified motivation, is there anything that you particularly struggle with when it comes to focusing while studying that it might, for whatever it's worth, I could give my opinion on? Yeah, I really enjoy watching videos like this. I'm glad that you guys are not. Yeah, does this being 720p affect your final video quality? No, it does not, because I'm actually recording on this camera and recording on that camera. And so it's being recorded in 4K. And I'm also recording audio separately through this microphone that's above me. And I'm also recording audio through here into GarageBand, which is over there. So like there's a lot. And also we've got the recording of the stream. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes to hopefully make this look good. All right. Let me see. Is there anything here around focus that I can answer as part of this video? Ooh, Throw asks, is 14:06 too late for caffeine? Okay, good question. Let's see. So let's include this in the bit about caffeine, whoever's editing this video. There is an issue with caffeine in that the half-life of caffeine, some people say, is like somewhere between 9 and 11 hours. And so generally what I try to do is not have caffeine after around 2 or 3 p.m. Generally before 3 p.m., it's probably fine. Generally after 3 p.m., I find that it probably affects my sleep. There's some small percentage of the population, I can't remember what number, maybe like 10%, for whom caffeine does not affect them at all. And so if you're one of those people, then, well, it's not really going to affect you, but you can have caffeine whenever you want. But for most of us, we should stop having caffeine after around about 2 p.m. So we can insert that into the caffeine bit of the video. Thank you, Throw. That's a really good question. Najwa, do you miss medicine? Nope. Belrix, how do you revise or study for subjects that you dislike? This is literally what my whole book is about. So that's why I'm struggling to answer this, because there's 110,000 words that I can tell you about how to study for stuff that you dislike. Basically, you need to change your approach to it so that it becomes more fun. That's just the answer. And there are so many different ways of doing that, which I'm going to save for the book and for future videos, because I have like literally an infinite number of things to say on this topic. Ooh, let's put this into the Pomodoro technique section. This is a good question from Vic. Right, so we have a question from Vic here on this live stream. What should I do on the Pomodoro breaks so that it's easy to continue studying once the break is over? Now, I've tried so many different ways of taking breaks in the Pomodoro technique. There's one thing, well, there's basically two things that I found, three things. There are three things I do in my breaks. Number one is I go to the toilet if I need to, because then I've done my wee break and that's fine. Number two is I make myself a cup of tea or coffee, which is very quick. And number three, I do some stretches. So recently I've discovered a YouTube channel called Juice and Tonya, I think. And I've saved one of their like sort of 10-minute stretch routines. So sometimes I'll extend my break to 10 minutes. It's like a lower body stretching routine where if I'm at a desk all day, and you are probably as well, our posture is probably really bad. You're probably like hunched over, kind of doing a bit of this. This is somewhat ergonomic. I have a fancy ass chair with like the monitor at the right height and stuff. But even then, it's like I've been sitting for the last like few hours. And so I need to do some hip flexor stretches and some glute stretches and some hamstring stretches. And I find that that is a fantastic energizing break during my that's a fantastic energizing break during my Pomodoro sessions. Very good. Thank you for that question. Any other questions on the topic of focus? What month is your book coming out? We're not sure yet. Maybe October and maybe December. Like there's loads of stuff in the publishing industry that's like, we're not 100% sure yet, but I'm thinking December maybe. When's your book coming out? Will it have an audiobook? Yes, it's coming out maybe in December. And yes, of course it's going to have an audiobook. I will be recording the audiobook. How do you manage your time? I have like dozens of videos about this. How do you like your new fitness coach? Dan is fantastic. I love him as my new fitness coach. If you want to see my fitness coach, search on YouTube for Dan High Performance Founder or something like that. Dan Founder. I think he's Dan. Oh shit. He's at Dan Founder on Instagram. Dan High Performance Founder. Search for him on YouTube and you'll find my fitness coach. Which do you value more, health or happiness? Ooh. Probably happiness. Your video editing application form is closed. Are you still hiring? If yes, how can I apply to your videos? Huh. Can you drop me an email? Ali Abdal. In fact, Banu, can you email Dan at aliabdal.com, and say, hey, I was talking to Ali on a live stream, and he said that we want to give you the trial task for the video editor application. So then Dan will send you the raw footage, and if you can edit the raw footage in a good way, that will, and you do it better than the other 712 people that have applied, of which we've hired 2 of them so far, then you're basically guaranteed a job. But you have to be really good, because we need people who are really good. What's your stance on GTD? I really like GTD. We're doing a video about that book, actually, in a little while. How much do you pay yourself from your company? Just curious. I don't actually know. I think it's like 150K a year. Yeah, 150K per year. Ish. I actually can't remember. Like, I don't, like, that's not a, the amount I pay myself is not really a thing that I even remotely think about, because when you run a business, it's like, I think a lot about the P&L of the business. I do not at all think about how much money is hitting my own personal bank account. I don't really need that much money in my bank account. I don't really buy shit. Any tech that I buy is a business expense. Like this, most of the travel I do is for work, so other people pay for it. So I don't really have a need to take out. I mean, obviously 150K is quite a lot of money to take out of the business, but like compared to the overall profits that are in the business, most of it gets invested directly from the business. Oh, Carrot Juice Podcast. Oh, you're appreciated. I've been implementing your content creation strategy. Fantastic. Oh, thank you so much. That is very kind of you to say. My goodness, that's a $20 donation. Please do in future, guys. If you're going to donate to me, don't donate to me. I have enough money. Please do donate to the Turkey earthquake relief fund, which if you just Google it, you can find it. But appreciate that nonetheless, Carrot. Thank you very much. That will pay for lunch today. All right. Anyway, I think it's now 1:15, so it's now time for me to retire from streaming, and I'm going to go to the gym. Jeffrey. I don't want to be a Jeffrey. I want to be Adonis, and I'm going to go to the gym, do a sesh. I think it's upper body day today. I did legs like 2 days ago, and I'm still recovering from that because I'm a Jeffrey. So gym session's going to happen. It's going to be fun. Grab some lunch, and then do 4 hours of book stuff from 3 to 7 p.m. today in a co-working space. That's going to be fun. Sweet. So thank you guys so much for being on this live stream. I hope you found it somewhat remotely interesting. By the way, if anyone fancies signing up for my part-time YouTuber Academy, I'll put a link here, academy.aliabdal.com. It's our final live cohort, and we have scholarships that are opening in the beginning of March. So if you would like a scholarship for the part-time YouTuber Academy, where you get free access to it, which normally costs $2,000, you can apply for a scholarship. But scholarships are happening on the 6th of March. That is when scholarships open. Please don't apply for a scholarship before then, or don't email us about it, because like we just get too many emails. People being like, how do I get a scholarship? And it's like, you've not read the website. Read the website. It's opening on the 6th of March. Yeah. So that'll be fun. Would be nice to see some of you guys there. And yeah. Good stuff. Anything else I need to say? Lots of people calling me Adonis. Some people calling me Jeffrey. Jeffrey spends 2 hours on a live stream talking to strangers on the internet, and he thinks he's being productive. All right. Bye, guys. Good sesh. Woo. Bye-bye.